Hey, it's Dr. Schmidt. This title is called Carnivory and Cars. And you'll see some other videos or events in the collector car groups where they talk about coffee and cars. So I don't drink coffee, but I eat a lot of meat. So I'm calling this Carnivory and Cars. I'm gonna show you some of the cars that I own. I have a small collection. And I'm gonna equate this with food and meat. So this is a 1970 Buick Skylark 350. It's got a 4-barrel. So the woman that ordered this originally in 1970 from the factory, she upgraded to a 4-barrel for more horsepower, 315 horsepower. And you can see it's got a really nice, curvy, sexy body to it. They put this into wind tunnels, and they tried to design the body so that the wind would go gracefully around the car. That way the passengers can roll down the windows, and then the wind wouldn't go like this. So in modern cars, if you're driving down the highway, roll the windows down, it buffets like this, and it's hard on the brain and on the ears, so it's annoying, so people roll the windows up. And you know, now air conditioners and heaters are really good, very efficient, and very good. Compared to 1970, they weren't so good. So people rolled down the windows more often back then. But speaking of this curvy, sexy body, let's talk about the human body. What is it that people look at and admire the most in a person's body, like that's physically attractive? And you'll see surveys in some like women's magazines, for example, and it'll say eyes, it'll say various body parts, chest, butt, shoulders on men, hair, that kind of stuff. But none of that's true. What's the most sexiest part of the body is actually posture. So you can have beautiful features, but if you're bent over like this and you walk into a room, you know, it's not attractive at all. And so how is it that you can maintain a good posture? And the answer actually, the best answer actually is, you know, obviously being healthy and getting rid of any sort of stressors on the body. Like when I had black mold from my old office, I've talked about that in previous videos, I felt this caving in feeling right here. And but within 3 days of doing the carnivore diet, my posture was back. So when you have some collapsing of your tissues and the weakening of your ligaments and tendons, your body just starts to cave in. You feel weaker. Not just your legs and muscles are weaker, but the muscles along the spine on the inside of your body to maintain your posture. And your heart muscle itself too, it needs to be sitting upright in your chest. And meat is the best thing that you can do to get your muscles back into shape and to get your body back into a proper posture. So I'm bringing that up because this has the analogy of a sexy, curvy body. And what's attractive about it, it's everything. It's the way the whole thing is put together. It's the posture. All right, let's pan. This is my daily driver. It's an Acura TL. It's 10 years old. It's an 09. And I like it. It's fun. It's fast. And it's light. And I'm just going to keep it forever. I appreciate having it. And I hope you appreciate my comments on this. It was built in Marysville, Ohio. I have family down there. And the whole town is basically centered on the Honda plant right there. And this has an American transmission and an American engine built by Americans. But it's not really a collector car. So I'm going to pan around this way. That's my backyard. This is my barn. It's not really a barn. It's actually a garage. It's got a concrete floor, and the walls are insulated. And inside I have, it's not my car. This is a Camaro. I think the year is a 1996. I'm storing it for a guy that works for Chrysler. He's an engineer. And he took the engine out, and he bored it. He bored the cylinders bigger and put in bigger pistons for more horsepower. And he put in a new exhaust. It sounds great. I have not driven it, but I'm sure it's a legit race car. But he bought a Dodge Viper, so he didn't have enough room anymore in his driveway. So I'm storing it for him. And but it's kind of an athlete. This car is like an athlete, but yet it's been sitting here for 2.5 years. And so I open up the door, and there's some mold inside, and I have to wipe it down. And I put a dust cover over it so it doesn't get too dirty. And one of the right front tire is flat, so it's kind of falling apart. I'm sure the battery's dead. And so the analogy here is, if you're an athlete, you used to have a sexy body and good performance, and but if you sit on the couch, it starts to degrade just like this car. And meat is absolutely the best thing you can do to repair your tissues and to keep the weight off. All right, I'm gonna kind of pan around this way. I've done a couple videos with this truck. I bought it 2 years ago. It's a 1988 Dodge Ram Charger. When I bought it 2 years ago, the dealer said to me it's got 53,000 miles and some guy in Wyoming had it. Well, guess what? I just got the Carfax report about 4 days ago, and it's got 153,000 miles, and it was never in Wyoming. It was in Albuquerque, which is probably better because it's a desert and there's no rust on this truck. It went from Albuquerque to Atlanta to Ohio, and now I have it here. And the lesson here is what was not said. You know, the truth was not told to me. I was given a lie. And this happens in medicine too. So when you go to a doctor and you want to lose weight and maybe your cholesterol is high, they're going to write you a prescription. What are they not saying? And you know, they could be telling you to go on a plant-based diet. Like, that's not the correct way to go about reducing the weight and lowering your cholesterol in a healthy way. So I was completely misled by this truck, by the dealer on this truck. I don't regret buying it. I don't regret the price I paid for it. But it's just a truck, right? In healthcare, it's your life, it's your body, and we need more truth, and we need more information. And if you go to a doctor and they give you one piece of information, you want a second opinion, you should leave the whole medical field and go to somebody else for a real second opinion. But this truck, it's big, right? You can see how it's kind of bloated. It looks fat. The engine is somewhat small. It's a V8, but it's a 318. And it doesn't drive very fast. 0 to 60 is super slow. It's fun to drive. And it bounces. Very stiff suspension. Right on the sun visor it says, do not drive this like a regular vehicle because of the threat of tipping over. So it's not very practical at all. And this tends to break down more than my other cars. I have to, you know, pay more attention to it. So it's like the standard American diet. It's bloated, and it's not fast, and it breaks down. Let's pan this way. So now I have not shown you this car before. This is a 1987 Buick Grand National. My uncle bought this new, and I just bought it from him last year. So in 1986 and 87, this was the fastest car in the world coming out of any factory. It beat out all the Ferraris and Porsches. As a matter of fact, down the road, down this road, the next town over is called Chelsea, Michigan, and the Chrysler Proving Grounds are there. And so Car and Driver magazine got a 1986 Buick Grand National, January of 86. It was 8 degrees outside. They test drove it, 0 to 60, 5 times in a row. It was 4.9 seconds. And in the next edition of the magazine, they explained how this is the fastest car. It beats out all the Porsches, etc. What's funny is on the cover of the magazine was a red Lamborghini Countach, which is a really cool looking car, but it's slower than this Buick. So the analogy though I want to share with you on this Buick, okay, so it's a V6 turbo. The V6 actually is pretty efficient and it gets decent gas mileage. And when you want some power, you kick on the turbo. It's crazy fast. It looks sleek and it's slim, and it's like the carnivore diet. There's no extra anything added. There's no chrome. They deleted all the chrome, and it's sort of just a straight bare bones hot rod out of the factory with the V6 turbo. So here we have, I'm gonna summarize this. This is like the Atkins era sort of carnivore diet, because Atkins talked about lowering your carbohydrates down to lose weight. Then when you get to your weight set point that you're happy with, raise the carbs up. And then people can get into trouble because now their carbs might go up too much, and then they might gain some weight, or they might get some symptoms that are inflammatory from the foods, from the extra carbohydrates. That's what this car is like. It's got a big beefy engine, but it could get slimmed down a little bit. It can cut out the carbs, and it still has some good power with a beefy engine. It's a little bit heavy because it needs to do a lower carb diet. And if it just stuck with beef only or meat only, then it might turn into something like this. So this is the Atkins era. A little bit too high carbs, possibly, potentially, but it's in really good shape. It's got a nice strong engine. It looks sexy. It's got great curves. It's very attractive. This too, very attractive, no bling, bare bones, turbo V6, carnivore diet, modern day carnivore diet, no extra carbs. And then here we have the standard American diet. Fat, slow, don't drive it too fast, you might go into the ditch. And then here we have the Camaro, the former athlete that's been sitting on the couch for 2.5 years, rotting away. It's gathering mold. The tires are flat. It still looks good, and if it ever got started again, I'm sure it sounds good. So there's my analogies of cars and carnivory, and at various stages of the last few decades, and how we've looked at the food that we consume, and then the results that we get. It was 1980 when the USDA dietary guidelines said that we need to reduce our meat intake, and they were successful. We've dropped our meat intake, red meat intake, by 28%. And now we're so much sicker as a society. And we have other meats that have gone up, such as chicken, but that's not good enough because it's not red. And chicken is missing the myoglobin or heme iron that's so beneficial to feeding the muscles. So if you like this information, please give me a thumbs up, and then share it with somebody who likes cars, and maybe they need to change their diet, and maybe they're afraid to eat red meat because of the bad advice given to us by the federal government and all of its minions, such as dietitians, nutritionists, and medical doctors. And then hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you know when I'm putting out my next video.